This is StoryRobot. Welcome to r/RegularRevenge. Our story of today is, abusive dad gets his comeuppance from his ex-wife, the lawyer. For some background, my mom is a lawyer and was once married to my dad, the abusive dad of the story. He was awful to her, manipulated her and beat her, even during both of her pregnancies. After struggling to get out of their abusive relationship, my mom eventually got out with me and my brother. Things weren't easy, however, as we constantly had to move to keep away from my dad, and it wasn't until I was almost 10 that I even saw my dad again. Cue visitation over to his house that I absolutely loathed and was miserable during, as he was an abusive beep. However, he learned his lesson with my mom and made sure not to be too physical with us. After years of manipulation and abuse, as soon as my brother graduated and I was a sophomore in high school, we cut him off completely. There was a lot more that went into it, but I don't want to get into the details of that because it's a lot. My mom was studying to be a lawyer throughout all of this and did it while working minimum wage jobs as a single mom to 2 kids. She eventually got the point where she opened her own law practice and is doing much better now, but for a long time, things were rough. My dad spent a long time making sure she wouldn't have the time to focus on school, and even got her to a point where she had to stop for a couple of years before she was eventually able to pick it back up and finish it. Still, despite his best efforts, she continued working hard to make a good life for her kids, while he was focused on making her miserable, even if it hurt us in the process. Just to paint you a picture of the kind of man he was, when my birthday came up, my dad went on a cruise with his girlfriend and didn't tell us until he got back. He said if he had custody, I could have gone, and then used that as an opportunity to talk about how my mom was broke and working dead-end jobs, as if he wasn't the reason she couldn't pursue her law degree. He also hated paying child support and would be beepy about it, saying it's her job to provide for her kids. So, yeah, that was my dad. Anyway, cut to about a year and a half after we cut off contact. Mom gets an email from a woman she didn't know, and that's when we all learned my dad had gotten married a few months after we cut off contact with him, and that his wife wanted to file for divorce. She told my mom about how she was enduring horrible abuse from dad, a lot of which was similar to what my mom endured, and how she wanted to get a divorce, but wasn't sure how to with her financial situation. My dad had a stronghold on her finances and was holding her stuff hostage from her at his house after she left, and she was scared and afraid he would try to hurt her or her family. Other attorneys hadn't been kind to her situation and would try to tell her to negotiate with him, but she was scared of him. Mom knew wife's situation well from past experience, and she decided then and there to work her beep off for free to make sure that dad got what was coming to him. He had tried to ruin her life by trying to drain her finances with the divorce and custody battles, and essentially trapped me and my brother in the crossfire. She wasn't about to let him get away with ruining wife's life, either. Still, my dad was a well-loved man of the community and spent a long time manipulating people into seeing him as a good person so that if anyone spoke out against him, people would turn on them for it and take my dad's side. He painted my mother as a monster woman, who turned his children against him and often made the claim his only crime was being human. Naturally, dad was angry that his wife wanted to leave him after he was served papers, but he wanted to maintain his reputation by handling things quietly. He called and texted wife, but she directed him to speak only through her lawyer and left only a phone number. My dad called, not knowing it was my mom, and tried putting on a nice guy act of how this was a misunderstanding and this could be worked out. Once my mom answered, however, he cut the act and began trying to intimidate her, but she shut him down. Mom said, "Let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to stop contacting my client or else I will come after you for harassment. We have screenshots of your conversations from before where you threatened her life and proof of physical damage from what you did." Dad said, "You can't prove I did that." Mom said, "Maybe not. Still, I know just how bad it was to be in her situation because of what you did, and I remember just how scared I was, too. If you think I'm still scared of you, however, then you clearly don't know me. You didn't just hurt me, you hurt my kids, too. You're not hurting anyone else as long as I'm here." Dad said, "You're so spiteful and vindictive. You already took them away from me, why can't you just leave well enough, Al?" Mom said, "I didn't take anything from you. They chose to leave because of what you did. I just let them know there was a way out. And if you think I'm spiteful now, you haven't seen anything yet. You tried to ruin my life, your own kids' lives, and now, you're reaping what you sowed. Next time you call, those papers better be signed." My mom made good on her promise. She worked tirelessly, pro bono, to make sure wife got out of there. She made sure she was safe and away from dad until the proceedings went through. Anytime dad tried to contest the divorce, however, mom reminded him she wasn't scared of him anymore and that the only thing he knew how to run was his mouth, so she quickly shut down his attempts. She didn't abuse her position. Not once. She did everything respectfully and amicably, and that drove my dad even crazier because she wouldn't give in to his goads or threats. She knew the law, he didn't. Anytime he tried to pull a quick grab at wife, Mom would respectfully remind him he couldn't do that and would cite laws and codes to back up her case. Dad was an idiot and didn't even get an attorney to represent himself because he's that egotistical. Despite his best attempts, Dad didn't win out. My mom didn't go above and beyond to make him suffer, because she knew that would reflect badly on not just her, but her client, wife. Her main focus was making sure wife was safe and away from him, not to settle a petty grudge match. After his attempts to stop the process failed, Dad finally gave up. He ended up paying for items that he kept from wife out of pocket, which set him back a bit. Eventually, Mom and soon-to-be ex-wife appeared in court and finalized the divorce, while my dad was too ashamed to even appear. Like I said, he was a well-liked man of the community, and to be seen by his peers during such a low moment for him would have probably been too much for him to bear. Once it was said and done, an attorney my mom knew recognized that wife's now ex-husband had the same name as hers. Mom said it was her ex, and I recall the lawyer saying, "You treated him better than I would." That drove my dad mad, because the bitter, twisted version of events he had created was contested by the reality of my mom's actions. She spoke factually about him and never once called him a derogatory manner, always spoke to him professionally, and only snapped at him when he would talk over her or yell at her. By the end of it all, Dad was so ashamed by how his reputation took a hit. Another thing, turns out he was cheating on wife with another woman while they were married, but this didn't come out until later. He also got beat for that, too. Added bonus, when my dad died, his family lived out of state and weren't able to be a part of the funeral plans directly, so my mom took over the planning since no one else had the heart to. She did everything just right and gave him a respectful funeral service, coordinating with his friends and family to make sure his memory was commemorated respectfully. She never spoke a bad word against him throughout the whole thing, and many of my dad's close friends and family extended apologies to her when they realized the monster woman my dad painted her as was false. Some even knew that he had been abusive to her, and yet she was still kind enough to give him a good service to pay him respect. She paid for his cremation and the service, paid for a professional film crew to respectfully film the service for my grandmother, who was too sick to travel during that time, that way she could see people honor her son's memory. Said grandmother once tried to testify against my mom to take custody of me and my brother away when we were kids because she thought my mom was lying about the abuse. Mom also took on ownership of his home and land, since his girlfriend didn't want it, and we are still working to maintain it today. We even found some of the furniture my dad said he lost or misplaced that belonged to wife and helped her move it into her new place. We use Dad's home as a safe place for Mom's clients trying to get away from their abusers and help them get on their feet there. In the end, the king is dead, but the queen is still alive. Thank you for watching. Error. Problem detected. Not enough subscribers. Please subscribe, like and comment.